Hello and welcome to Thank You Five, hosted by Straw Dog Theater Company. Thank You Five is a weekly panel discussion on the topic of what is theater, where we bring theater artists from around the globe into a conversation about live theater in a digital world with a spirit of gratitude and innovation. I'm very excited about tonight's episode and these panelists. If you're watching on YouTube, you can head over to strawdog.org. Thank you, Five. And I think you can be able to join the chat if there's questions you want to ask, and we'll do our best to get to those. But for right now, let's meet the panelists. Let's see. Charlene, can you start us off?
Sure thing. Hey, everybody. Welcome. So glad you're here. So glad to be here. I'm Charlene Donahue. I am based on the East Coast in Connecticut. I have a multi-geographic life. I work at the University of Nebraska, Omaha, and I live in Connecticut. I ran a theater festival in Massachusetts, and I had a second home in New Orleans. So I'm kind of all over the place and love me some Chicago. I was the goofy little kid in the neighborhood who used to write plays and force my poor friends to act in them. And our parents would be forced to watch them and pat us on the head and send us away to go play in the street. So I've pretty much been a theater maker all of my life. Primarily a playwright, but also screenwriting, fiction writing. I'm a producer. I produced an international theater festival for 16, 17 years. I produce another international theater festival. We're in our 13th year, the Warner International Theater Festival, and we've actually produced, I think, last count about 160 plays. But my love is playwriting. That is my art. That is my passion. I had New Orleans as a muse for many, many years. And I'm leaning a lot lately into my heritage, which is Middle Eastern. I'm Lebanese. Thanks, Dad. So yeah, I do a lot of things. I love theater. I love the collaboration, the collaborative nature of theater, and every single person, designers and stage managers, they're gold, and every technician. It's a great place to have family.
All right. Erick.
Right on. My name's Erick Esteban, aka Miscellaneous Brown. I started out in Chicago theater in 1997 and at Improv Olympic and at Second City, and then worked my way to Straw Dog Theater, and then worked my way to Los Angeles. And now I'm a stand-up comedian and an actor, and I love being on. This is what, my third time back now. Is that correct? Third time back at Thank You Five, and I love my Straw Dog family and my Chicago family, and I wanted to be back because I'm coming back to Chicago this weekend to headline the Comedy Plex March 15th and 16th. So I'll be back in town, Chicago. So I thought I'd thank you Five and say what's up and talk about theater.
Fantastic. And I'll ask you to plug that again before we go.
Okay? I'll plug that again, Hank. That's no problem.
I know you will, but I wanted to make it sound really formal and polite.
Of course, man.
And it was planned and I'm okay with it.
Of course.
Yeah. All right. Jasmine, tell us about yourself.
Hi, my name is Jasmine B. Gunter, she, her, hers. I am a theater director, currently getting my MFA directing degree at Northwestern, but before that, I was working at a myriad of places. I was working at Arena Stage, Hartford Stage, and also Seattle Rep, and currently based in Chicago, but a lot of my focus and interest in theater comes from history and literature, and how do we re-examine the past in the present moment in order to build better futures for ourselves through self-healing and liberation.
Fantastic. All right. And Zach.
Hi, everyone. Hi to the thousands and thousands of people watching this currently. My name is Zach Piercy. I'm a Chicago playwright. I was just a silly little kid writing plays, and then I started acting in Chicago in 1997, and now I'm getting my MFA in directing from Northwestern University, and I'm excited to be here with all of you because it seems like we have so much in common.
All right. Thank you all so much. And just for the sake of, if you don't know me, my name is Hank Boland, and I am a Straw Dog Theater ensemble member, and I've been one for almost 20 years at least, I think, but was a huge fan before that. I'm primarily a playwright and or theater administrator, arts administrator, jack of all trade, bon vivant, that sort of thing. I teach at Columbia College in the screenwriting department, and I love to teach. I love theater. I like people. So this works real well because the four of you are people, and you know, that to me, like, okay, so like that to me is a big part of what is theater or how I define it. But we're gonna start because I like this. Just seems like a foundation. What is theater to you? And we're gonna all take a shot at this. But Erick, why don't you start us off as a senior panelist?
See, that's an old joke, making me feel old.
It's
I'm
it's
turning
you
50
to the
this year,
thousands
so,
of people who are watching.
I'm already
for Zach.
sensitive. I'm already sensitive to it.
I don't mean senior like senior discount like buffet.
I know, but you stress the word senior like you did mean it. But that's
It just
fine.
also
I'm
applies.
just gonna go
You're
ahead and
turning 50
define.
this year. You're turning
I
50
am. I'm
this
turning
year.
50 this
You're
year.
outing him for being 50. Come on
I
now.
don't, I'm happy about. Look at my gray hair. I don't care.
You got
Yeah.
hair.
I'm proud to be 50 because I grew up in
Yeah.
Chicago. You know, I grew up in like being real. I don't want to be emotional, but like high school kids that I went to school with. You know, there was a memorial in at the back page of my yearbook.
Yeah.
So there were some kids, you know, that didn't make it out of high school. So the fact that I'm 50, some of the cats that I came up with, yo, I'm proud to be
Yeah.
50. So, but as far as what is theater, I mean, for me, the definition has changed a lot throughout my whole career. Because like I said in my introduction, I did my first professional play in 1997 at the Young Playwrights Festival at Pegasus Players in Chicago. You know, I got my first check and I was like, oh my God, I'm a real actor. You know, and then I started improvising at Second City and Improv Olympic, and then, you know, started doing professional plays. And my equity debut was Romance of Magna Rubio at Victory Gardens, and I got to be Filipino. But like the first time in 8 years of acting, I got to be actually a Filipino actor, which was like transformational for me. Almost like it turned me into like theater for me. And at that point was like it was a different thing. And then I got to LA, and then the Ford Theater wanted to do Romance of Magna Rubio again. And then they called me. I didn't even have to audition. They were like, Erick, do you want to play the same role that you played in Chicago? And again, theater again, it just lifted me up again and put me into a different level. And then that play was about 1930s Filipino migrant workers. They were called manongs. And there were anti-miscegenation laws in California, literal laws in California that my wife's and my marriage would have been illegal and my kids would be a crime. And at the finale of that play in Romance of Magna Rubio in Los Angeles, a California State Assembly member, Luis Alvarez, I believe was his name, he had a official state apology from the state of California to Filipino Americans and the migrant workers at the end of our play, because we had been nominated and it was sold out every performance and all this stuff. And everybody's, you know, like tears in everybody's eyes at the end of this thing, because they're apologizing for the laws of this play that we wrote, you know, about. And I said to myself that night, I was like, I will never need an Oscar. I will never need an award. This is better than anything I could have ever thought of or dreamed of when I was starting out acting in Chicago. And so theater to me is like, it's a different thing, man. Theater can change the trajectory of whole cultures, you know, with the stories that they tell. That's how powerful theater is to me. And then like now the power of theater and just the power that theater has given me, I can take the performance and the improv and the skills that theater has given me, and I can stand on stage for an hour and make people laugh. It's amazing. I don't know that I can ever thank the Chicago theater. I'm getting choked up thinking about it, because It's amazing to me because I'm 50 years old and I'm still doing it. That's how much I love it. There you go. There's my answer.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer. Jasmine.
Yeah, for me, theater is storytelling. It's live storytelling. I remember at a very young age, my cousin and I would like plan out stories and then we would perform the stories just for each other. And that's what theater feels like to me. It could be as big as being on Broadway and seeing a live story unfold, but I also think of those small moments when you're with a friend and you're telling a story, but then you're acting out the story and you're like doing the voices of the different people in the story. And that also feels like theater of just sharing stories. I think that we as people are just drawn to storytelling and making meaning out of that storytelling.
Agreed. All right, Zach.
Yeah, theater to me is it's calling up a friend and it's saying, "Hey, can I inconvenience you for like 2 to 3 months? Can we can we please pretend, like create a pretend world together and just really stress out about it for a while in ways that no one will understand or reciprocate, but that we together can just like really have a knot in our stomachs and in our hearts for a good long while about. And then 2 to 3 months later, I call that friend and say, we should do this again, and we should keep doing this.
It's good. That's good. That hits a lot of chords for me.
Yeah.
It's a
Charlene.
lot of chords for me too, bro.
Yeah.
I love stressing out for 2 to 3 months at a time.
Right?
Absolutely.
Oh, and those friendships that you make and stressing out for those 2 to 3 months at a time, they last a lifetime for real.
They're tested. They're tested so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. And like, but way to be honest about it, right? Like it's gonna be 3 months of stress. And it's not gonna matter. And we might yell at each other and then we'll want to do it again.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. All right. Charlene, what is theater to you?
Well, I think we've all hit on the common thread of friendships and creating something together. And I think part of, Hank and I met a decade ago. A decade ago. And, this was an impromptu thing to come on here and hang out with you guys. And that's from a friendship that started a decade ago. And I think it's exactly that. It's being able to call somebody at 2 a.m. because, oh my God, I just wrote something that feels really good and I need to hear it. And somebody's groggy on the other end going, really, what the heck do you want now? It's like, can you read this? 2 a.m. I don't care. And they don't care. That's it. It's people coming together. And I think for me, post-COVID, it really became about working with people that I trust and just want to have fun with. Like I've been very, very blessed in my career and I've had the Broadway option and I've done that stuff and that's great. But now when I think about it, I want to work with people that I just like and have fun with. And somehow that's also brought so many blessings to like have fun and create stuff that means something to us and hopefully to our audiences and sharing this, cliched magic that we all have. Yeah, that's it.
I think absolutely right. Like, and it's, so we met at Kenyon College at a playwrights festival, not festival, but a
conference, work.
Wendy would kill us. But,
sorry, Wendy.
Yeah, sorry, Wendy. Institute.
The conference is
Institute. That was
anyway.
it.
It's an Playwrights Institute. I'm sorry. They don't do it anymore, so I don't have to get the name right. But it was an amazing experience. And playwrights from all over coming in and working together for a week. It's we've all been in those sorts of situations. But we had someone drop out tonight, and you had liked a post on Facebook, and I was like, "You want to come on tonight?" Like, yeah, I do. Right. But I mean, I think that to me is the other part of what you had just said. Like, but it's Zach, it's what you said, right? It's not just the ask, hey, do you want to go play make believe for 2 months and be stressed? Uh, it's the call and response of the yeah, I do, the yes. And that idea about like the yes is like the threshold guardian, right? You said yes, so we're all in it now. And once you're on the other side of that yes, so much can happen. So yeah, for me, it's about yes, the impulse and the opportunity.
And I would add the and. Yes, and.
Well, that's the Del
Improv.
Close in you, right? Like
Yeah, well, that's, I mean, but it is the Del Close in me. I mean, I'm street cred, whatever, but I mean, I was part of the last class
yeah.
of Del Close. He passed away. We had 7A where you trained with him in the studio and you were in the class, and then 7B was the show. And I was in the 7A, and then there were 2 weeks of break, and in that 2-week break, Del passed away. So I was literally the last class of Del Close.
Wow.
And yes, and is literally my mantra in life to everything. Like everything. Yes, yes, give it to me, and I'm going to give you what I have. That's it. That's my mantra in life. And that's theater. That's Del Close. That's improv. That's, black box stuff that I learned that's been with me and stays with me. I teach my kids that. That's a good thing. That's a good life philosophy. That's not just a good theater philosophy.
And I think it also, brings us this like really weird stuff to say. I'm going to do theater on this beach. I'm going to do theater in this hole in the wall bar. I'm going to do theater on a rooftop. I'm going to do theater. I'm going to do a puppet show on the back seat of a car. Like,
look at those cats in New York that do the group improv where it's like almost like a collective dance out, out in public where they're improvising. It's beautiful. And it's so, and I love the way that it's grown, because I came out here in LA, and it's different. Theater's different out here. It's just different. I'm not going to say it's better or worse. It's just different. Different, very different than the Chicago theater that I came up in. But at the same time, it causes you to be innovative, and because of the internet, and I know we're talking about innovations and how theater can be innovative. It forces the artist to be innovative too. And I think, YouTube and everybody, I mean, look what we're doing right now. We're literally on a streaming video talking about theater, and that, I think, it in and of itself is a change in the way we're consuming theater and the way we're processing theater. It's a really cool time to be alive as an artist, I think.
Okay.
What?
No. What? I was just like, I was just curious if somebody was going to pick up that ball and run with it, or if I had
because I don't want to keep talking, because I know, because I have 2 podcasts, y'all. Don't let me keep talking, because I will talk and talk and talk. So just please, somebody let me stop me, and somebody else say something, please.
We'll stop
else
you
it'll
when
be
you hit
Take
the ad
Eric
for
5.
Squarespace.
Huh? Squarespace. Wait, say it again.
I said, we'll stop you when you hit the ad for Squarespace.
Oh, Lord, Jesus. I know, right?
Yeah.
So this, normally I move this into like, what is theater in the digital age, right?
Yeah.
And good, bad, indifferent, opportunities, obstacles. Yeah, let's do that. So what are you seeing? What are you thinking about? How are you feeling about theater in the digital age? I think I'm going to start with you, Jasmine.
Maybe
Up and
because I was
comer?
making faces. I was
No.
making faces.
Was that too teachery of me?
No, I was making faces because I feel neutral to technology. Like there are definitely benefits that it adds to our lives, but also detriments that it add. I don't think I'm in the anti-technology club, but I also don't think I'm completely in the pro-technology club. But I've been thinking a lot about TikTok and like YouTube Shorts and the way that we consume media. And that concerns me in a way of now we have shorter attention spans. And it has me thinking about the life of theater. And this is not fully formed. I'm like word vomiting at this moment, but I'm thinking about like how theater can adapt to the digital age, but also what does it mean to push people's attention spans in this day and not sort of settle or fall into what we have today. I don't know. I'm very interested in how do we keep theater sustainable? And I think theater's going to be around for a while. I'm not concerned about it. But yeah, that's been a lot on my mind today about how we consume theater today and or how we consume media today and how can theater actually push that and challenge that in a way. I haven't found the answer, but if anyone wants to shoot me the answer.
Yeah, if you come across it, like send it out, like share it,
Great.
because it's a weird question too. Anybody else? What are you thinking?
Yeah,
Well, oh, go
sorry.
ahead. No, go ahead.
Similar to Jasmine, I've been feeling very much the same as a person who like grew up on the internet, about how I consume things, about my attention span, and what that means for me as a writer. And I don't know, it's not an answer, obviously. I think we're all living through it, and we'll probably all die before historians look back and are like, this is the answer. But for me, it's made me a more efficient storyteller. People's short attention spans, I think, there used to be a time when plays would last from midday till sunset because, people had time back then. But now I don't want to see a play that's like 2.5 hours long, because why would I? Why would I want 2 intermissions in my life when there are modern stories being told that are, in my opinion, better and speak to the times we're living in better because they were written now, that are 90 minutes or less, or even better, 80 minutes or less. It's possible to do because we as storytellers evolve to fit the form. We get better at expressing ourselves in less words, as I am demonstrating now by not babbling on.
Okay, but can I add something to that?
Yes.
I kind of want to go back to the days where it was like, I am watching a 4-hour play because I have nothing to do. I say that as
you know
someone
what? Then when you have some kids, you'll stop wanting to do that.
yeah, but no, I'm thinking relating it back to TikTok. This is so funny because I don't have a TikTok. But anyways, I'm thinking about that new series that the TikTok series with the women of like who did I marry? And it's 4 hours long, and there are people who have committed themselves to watching this 4-hour long story of this woman telling this riveting story. And I'm just like, how can theater get back to that place? I know I'm in the minority of this, but I'm like,
You know what?
I'm interested in
I want to say something because streaming and what everybody's talking about as far as, oh my gosh, everybody's streaming and nobody's watching theater and everybody's attention spans are so. There are people who will sit and watch the whole season of The Bear in one sitting. That is a long attention span. You know what I mean? People will still watch if it's good. People will still go to the theater if it's good. If it's good quality work, like you're saying, if it's good quality, well-written stuff, people are going to come. What with the Field of Dreams thing, that if you build it, they will come. And especially in this society where people are trying to worry about all the different things to do, because now, everything's opened up post-pandemic and everybody wants to go do stuff again. It really is just about putting on a good show, whether it be a good show on streaming that people will sit and watch for 8 hours, or a 3-hour movie that people will, Oppenheimer, where they'll sit and watch somebody build a bomb for 3. If it's good, they're going to watch it.
I think, I see both. Like I see to Zach's point, it's we are in a culture where the 90-minute play is the norm, right? And 80 minutes would be great. Where, Hank and I can speak to growing up in the culture where 120 was the norm, right? And I teach MFA students in stage, screen, and fiction, and if I get a 120-page manuscript, I'm reading it, and if it's caught me and it's got me, hell yes, I'm in, I'm there. But it's really got to catch me and be in, because I look at them and I said, like, the biggest thing for me, and I hope your professors feel this too, is like, I fly so high when my students succeed. Like, damn. And if you send me a play that's 120, 150 pages, it better freaking grab me like by the throat to not let me go. But I've seen that. And I've also seen that in one act and 10 minutes. And I think it comes from all over. The beauty of theater is you could go see a 10-minute and be mesmerized, and you can go see you can go see an Angels in America and be mesmerized, right? Like, yeah.
Too Much Light Makes the Baby Go Blind has been running for how long in Chicago?
Yeah.
And that was one of my first experiences in theater in Chicago. That was before I even started acting professionally. And I went to see that play, and that play unlocked like that 30 minutes of theater it unlocked so many different possibilities and imagination in my young brain, when, so amazing. Cause it was like little 2-minute plays or 5-minute scenes, or brilliant. And it's still going on. Is it? Please tell me it's still going on.
It's it's now called The Infinite Wrench, but it's still happening. 30 plays in 60 minutes.
Okay, good. Too Much Light Makes the Baby Go Blind. That was my favorite.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's still at the same location, but it's still in Andersonville, but it was back in the day.
Did they change the name for some reason, or?
It's a whole thing. We can't get into it here.
It's a thing. Yeah. While we don't have an on-site legal team, we're just not going to
listen. I have been back to Chicago. I don't know. That was what they called it when I knew it. Okay, so that was the thing.
And you probably saw it at Live Bait.
I did. I did when they were upstairs at the Live Bait. Yeah.
Oh man. So now I want to. Well, have we all talked about theater in the digital age yet?
I want to hit on one other thing, because there's something from a producer and a director. You're going to find this too, and a playwright being in that room as casting is going on, both good and bad. Like, you can cast now anywhere in the world, because so many auditions right now are being done virtually, and that wasn't possible, I think, pre-COVID, right? It wasn't something we all were like, who the hell would want to do that? You got to be in the room. But I think that's kind of a double-edged sword. Like, I want to be in the room and see and hear and feel, and let them like get into my head. But I think done well, what the digital age has done is opened up this sort of area of being able to cast nationally, internationally, and if you're also doing obviously the performance digitally, yay. And if you're not, fly somebody in. Like, it allows that now. So I think that's one sort of plus that not to miss on a producer, director, playwright end of it of casting.
Very true.
Yeah, that was it. I talk a lot with my hands, I'm noticing.
No, that's good. No, that's just stay in the center and you're gonna be fine. Even a year ago, like doing this show and talking to people, right? There was this, like, I'm gonna say this a different way. There feels like there's a different tone in the room tonight when we're talking about post-COVID. Because we're a year on from where we were talking about it last year, right? And so, like, what are, like, some of the, like, that is a great positive post-COVID change in our dynamic. What are, like, some other, like, positive post-COVID things with theater, or that you're just seeing in general, right? Like, it feels like we're, what is it? CDC just said, unless you got a fever, just go. Like what? How you feel? You feel okay? Go, just go. And I know that it's still very serious for people, and it's still, and it was what it was. It was terrible, and it's still bad. But Eric, you're getting on a flight. You're coming out here. You're going to do 2 shows. How big is this club in Oak Park?
150
The
seats, I
seats,
think. Yeah.
right? Right?
Yeah.
Like 2 years
I
ago, it'd be like, oh no, I'm not going near that
I
place.
will say this. So because I do stand-up comedy, so I got booked by a bigger um, you know, comedy producer, Laugh After Dark, out of Vegas. And they were doing shows like right after COVID, like right when everybody was starting to come back. And I had lost a few people. I'm Filipino, I lost a few Filipino nurse friends and just people in general. They're in COVID. I lost like 5 friends during the pandemic. So it was a scary time for me. But at the same time, it was a big opportunity for me as a stand-up comic. So I'm like, I'm gonna go. So I got vaccinated and then there was a meet and greet afterwards, and I had to shake people's hands, and people were like high-fiving me and hugging me and stuff. And it was weird and scary, but knock on wood, I still haven't gotten sick. I still haven't gotten
Wow.
it. So, I don't know. Maybe the cannabis helps.
Uh, I will say,
Nerd.
in response to your question, Hank, to start as a Debbie Downer and then maybe bring it to a positive place. There, obviously, we talk about a post-COVID world as if we've all addressed the trauma of what we've been
Yeah.
through and how we're all just fine now and no one gets COVID anymore and it doesn't suck for a lot of people. But
Right.
as a disabled person, I'm partially blind. I know there are a lot of people in my community who cannot go out to theater anymore and cannot go to events because places are not masking anymore. And people, when they are sick, they just choose to go out. And it means a death sentence for a large group of people. That's the Debbie Downer part. And now I'll get positive. What this also means.
Well
What this
played.
also
Well
means.
played, Zach.
What this also means is now we have events like this and readings and shows sometimes, I guess, that are virtual that can be attended by a large variety of people, not just in the disabled community who cannot go out because a lot of people chose to be selfish once upon a time and continue to be, but because of where I am currently based in Chicago. I have family in Pennsylvania. I have friends in Maine. They can see my work in a way they couldn't. I'm sure Charlene and Jasmine and Eric, all of your work that ends up on Zoom can be shared by people all over the country, and that's beautiful. That's wonderful. And that's theater.
Agree.
Yeah.
And it's, the digital age of just what's going on with me lately is I have a full length that's going up on Cape Cod up in Truro next Saturday, week from Saturday. And just posting that on Facebook, I had like 4 people reach out and say, wow, can we see that play, please? Like we wouldn't have that without this digital age, right? Like those things like that wouldn't have happened. And so it's connecting us in ways, right? Connects us in ways that are pretty special. It also took away some of the personal, some of that face-to-face contact, but we're adaptable. We're adaptable.
There are good and bad of everything.
True.
Because you can look at the internet and say, oh man, managers and agents and people out here in LA, all they look at and see is even club bookers, even theaters, actors, looking at actors, how many Instagram followers do they have? So it's a drawback. But at the same time, I know a lot of comedians who are making thousands of dollars a month monetizing their social network. So I might not be able to do it, but I'm happy for them. So there's good and bad for all of it, man. Again, it's such an interesting time to be alive as an artist and as a creator, because you can get your art out instantly. Do you think of something? Oh, there, you can put it on TikTok, or you can do a story on Instagram if you want, or whatever it is. But and as a playwright, if you wanted to put a Zoom together and have people reading your work every Wednesday, so until you're finished writing a play, you could do that. It's brilliant. It's such a cool tool to have.
Um, I I'm interested, Zach and Jasmine, right? You're
Yes.
both in an MFA program, right? Are you in the same MFA program?
I'm not. I did a bit that I don't think landed initially, and now I'm facing the
that
consequences of it.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, I was very confused as well. I was
Because I was like, wait, did you start playing 1997? That was me.
Yeah, yeah.
He
Okay.
took a line from each one of our bios and made it his bio.
You know, and
Yeah.
if we were doing this in person, that might have landed better.
It would totally landed. It would have totally
Did like
landed.
a resume version of Exquisite Corpse.
Yeah.
Because there's
okay.
that Zoom etiquette of not interrupting somebody, especially during their introduction. But I was gonna be like, did he just take a line from my bio? Good, well played.
Thank you. Hank,
Okay, so
I'm
Zach,
not,
who the hell
I'm not
are
in
you?
an MFA, but I am young. Yes.
Who the hell are you, Zach?
Who are you? Why are you on this show?
Who
You
are
have
you,
anything to
then?
do with theater?
He's a Zoom hacker, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man.
Zach is actually an accountant.
It's true. By day, I account.
Then you're making more money. Awesome.
Mhm.
Okay. Well,
Back to
okay.
the question
Zach,
to
I'm gonna make you
Jasmine.
answer this question anyway.
I will.
You can pretend that you're in an MFA program.
Sure.
So I'm curious, Jasmine, and by proxy, Zach, who's pretending to be in an MFA program. Is this sort of stuff getting dealt with within the program? Like are you being asked to make decisions about digital theater, decisions about these things, in how you create? Is it being addressed at all?
Jasmine, you
I
can
will-
answer first.
Great. I don't know. Maybe you have more experience with this, Zach.
You know,
I will say that it isn't a primary focus at this current moment in my MFA program. However, I remember particularly not right after the pandemic happened, we're still in it, but like right when it happened. So I got admitted in 2020, and I remember that I was in my apartment the entire year. Like I didn't go on campus, but it really challenged me to make material online and to think about how to communicate story. And in a way, I thought it was, when I first did it, I'm going to be completely transparent. I was like, this is a waste of my time. Why am I making a 5-minute video of me outside laying on the grass? And I've actually found, when I look back at those, like at that 1 year of me doing a lot of online digital work, that it's actually really informed the way that I pursue storytelling in person. If that makes any sense. Online content really teaches you how to grab focus. It really does teach you how to be more efficient in your storytelling. And even if I couldn't appreciate it back then, there are so many things that I do appreciate about it now.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in from the other side of that, from the professor side of that. So, University of Nebraska Omaha, it's a low residency program. I've been teaching there since 2011, and I absolutely love it. 2020 shifted, right? So we couldn't even do the low res, so we had to be digital, and we were. And to your point, Jasmine, I think you're right. It made, you know, the professors and the students think of the writing, think of the storytelling, think of the elements of what that is and what that looks like in a unique way that I think I've seen carried over as we're going, you know, into this now live again, which we've done for about a year, that we think about now. And I don't know that we thought, I know we didn't think about it pre-COVID. So now we're thinking about like, what is that focus? And in an odd way, it actually has even gone to like, not only looking at something that could be digital, but like radio plays have started to make a resurgence all of a sudden, you know, of writing radio plays, and that's
Trevor Noah quit the
podcast.
Daily Show and he's doing a podcast.
Yeah, right. Going to podcasts, right? So yeah, definitely changed.
A lot of it is, I mean, we talked about it in the pre-show. I started 2 podcasts for myself. One that talks about my cultivation of cannabis, because I started learning how to grow cannabis, and I live in California, so I can do all that stuff. So, and then one about social commentary, where I have some local politicians on, and I interview them, and I try to do a Daily Show-esque kind of thing where I be funny with them. But it's podcasting it's like the AM radio of what it was when we were younger, or any kind of like talk radio show from what it was when we were listening to the radio. Now it's podcasting. And I mean, I don't want to jinx it, but I'm in talks with some sponsors already. And
Really?
hopefully, fingers crossed, I get 1 or 2 sponsors on a podcast. You're telling me I can sit in my living room and talk to my friends, and you're going to pay me to mention your product? And that's, oh, cool. Great. I like that. So the technology in that aspect is, it's amazing, because it's like, because all I like to do is talk, as you can probably tell if you watch podcasts, I can talk. So it's been transformative. And every time I've done podcasting, because I did another podcast a couple of years ago before the pandemic, because I like to interview people face to face when I do my podcast. But the podcast trained us to do this, the pandemic trained us to communicate this way. And so now that I know how to do it really well, and I can communicate effectively on it, I'm trying to do it as much as possible, so that hopefully, that's my goal. Is I told one of my co-hosts, I'm like, give me 6 months. We're going to figure this out. Because, yeah.
Is
Yeah, and I
podcast
was-
theater?
I think so. I definitely use all my improv skills when I'm doing it. So but I don't know that it's theater. I think it's performance and it's storytelling. But theater is still theater. I think you still have to be live to be theater. You still have to be in front of people, or people watching you walk a tightrope of live performance before it's actually a theater thing. Stand-up comedy to me is theater, because I'm still on stage. I'm still in front of an audience. I'm still trying to gauge the audience. I'm still trying to read the audience. I'm still trying to, make sure that they're entertained. So I feel like a stand-up, like a live performance, that's theater. But I don't know.
Right. So Jasmine and Zach, what were those responses?
I was going to agree that I think podcasting can be performance, but I don't know if I would call it theater. Or I'm thinking about the podcasts that I listen to; those tend to be edited, and that's like the beauty of theater, is that you can't go back and fix it. You have to be in the moment. So I was just agreeing.
That was just a thing, because I just edited a bad joke out of one of my podcasts just recently. So you don't.
I was going to say I disagree, not about podcasting. That I agree with. I do think it's performance. I don't know if it's theater because of the editing aspect of it all. But Eric, you said live performance. Like there needs to be a live element for it to be theater. And
not necessarily just like a live audience of people watching you.
Okay, fair. I think about growing up in an area that was a bit of a theater desert, and coming to the medium and coming to the form through YouTube and bootlegs, like those things are still like very much theater, even though I'm experiencing them months or years later.
Of course.
Yeah.
A lot performance is performance. I mean, like I still cry when I watch Lea Salonga do Miss Saigon on from video. I agree 100% when it comes to but it is a live a capture of a live performance. So
right,
yeah, definitely. I mean, I only heard Rent on the song on a CD before I auditioned for it as one of my first auditions. Hulu. Found out fast that I shouldn't do musicals.
um, Jasmine, to your point, I think you bring up that idea of editing, right? Like
Yeah.
that there's a post-production element that is changing that, and even I wonder if live editing is different, like a sporting event, right? Like where they're calling it in the
Yeah.
booth and it's happening live is a little different. Um, we got
But-
a bit of a. Oh, go ahead, Charlene, go.
But to kind of play devil's advocate here, I mean, yes, you have the editing in a podcast, but you have the rehearsal in live theater, right? So
Right.
that is your editing. You're doing a 6-week run, or however many weeks of rehearsal. That's your chance to edit out or to change. Just like in a podcast, you have that editing ability. So I think it depends. It depends on the podcast, right? Is it theater?
Yeah.
It depends on what you're doing.
Well, Charlene, to be devil's advocate to your devil's advocate, what just flashed in my mind was back when the Super Bowl happened, and Alicia Keys came out with Usher, and she hits that first note of her song, and her voice cracked live. That to
Sure.
me is theater. But in the YouTube that they posted later, they fixed that note with ADR. So that is performance. No disrespect to Alicia Keys. She's a great artist and is a better singer than I will ever be.
I'd rather her voice crack, because then you know she's singing live.
Right.
Good point. Good point. I think to me, there's so much that can be, and that I consider theater, but I think it's very individual to the viewer, to the audience member, and it's also individual to the deliverer, whatever they're delivering. So, but yeah, that was really a real good, a good little sample there, a little example there. I like it. You're right. But I like the live, right? The live that her voice cracked. Yeah, give me that every day.
All right. So we've got a question from a viewer. Liz has written in and talked about binge watching, what you were talking about with binge watching. And the idea is that there's a control aspect, right? Like she can pause and take breaks whenever.
Sure.
She goes on to say, I know my couch is comfy, but theater seats aren't always great for long-term sitting. I feel the same about movie theaters. I'd love to hear more about what you think about the future of theater spaces.
You know what I'm here in Burbank, California, and there's this state-of-the-art theater called the Colony Theater, and it was almost gonna get torn down. And my agent and the theater company that's there, and the whole community came together to make sure that it stayed. But it's a very interesting question that she poses. I mean, I don't want to sit in a black box theater on a folding chair for 3 hours. That's tough. That's hard to do.
Not only do I not want to sit there, I don't want to pay $45 to sit there.
Exactly. That's the other thing. When I could pay $25 to sit in a recliner and watch, Barbie or whatever. I mean, that's a big thing with theater. I think that's going to be a hard thing to figure out when it comes to spaces. And I mean, I think there's always going to be that black box and the folding chairs, but I think those are going to be the one acts, because I don't think you're not going to find a lot of people who are going to sit there for 2 or 3 hours watching Shakespeare in a black box.
Yeah, I think
Go.
I think there's a lot of things about theater that is inaccessible, and I think seating is a big part of it. Yeah, I just wish like some people who build theaters think about the people who are inhabiting that space, because sometimes I'm just thinking not even about seats, but just thinking about like wheelchair accessibility in some theaters. Yeah, I just wish the people who built the theater actually thought about the people who have to inhabit that space.
But then take it outside of a box, take it outside of a brick and mortar building. Like, to me, that's so exciting. I would rather go, I don't know, sit on a pier and watch somebody out on a boat do a performance
Yeah.
To me, that's right. That's my jam. I just love that. I love seeing theater. I love seeing theater anywhere, but I think right now there's a wonderful welcoming leaning towards just get it out of the brick and mortar buildings and put it wherever you want to put it.
Yeah, I really I hope there's a shift towards less brick and mortar performance, or at least the less like retention of these spaces. Like, you know, like, oh, we've been in this space for 30 years. It used to be a butcher shop. No one can sit here and it's on the fourth floor, you know?
Please take
I
your
believe
grant
that-
money and get me a seat with a
Oh
cushion.
man,
Right.
I think I'm seeing a show there this weekend.
But I don't know. I think it's tough. While I believe that more spaces or more theater companies rather could be more nomadic in their nature, be more open to performing
Theater.
around cities and around the country even, there are always going to be accessibility issues when you need to rent a venue. Like doing a show on the beach is great, but there are still the same problems for wheelchair users, depending on where you do it on the beach when you do it in a small storefront too. So it's tough.
Yeah, and those are things
I-
that have to be thought of by a producer, right? How do we make it accessible? Like the beach, is there a boardwalk that can make it accessible to more people? You know, the storefront. Oh my God, are there 7 steps to get down the basement? Well, that you don't do it there, or you figure out a way to make that accessible to people. I mean, I think it's being very mindful and knowing that that's important to the people putting it on as well as the people attending it.
Maybe I'm just an indoor girly, and that's okay. But I'm also thinking about how do we make our theaters more flexible spaces? Like I'm thinking about like Here Lies Love, where they turned the theater into like a part of a dance club. And I'm just like, how do we get a little bit more unconventional in our theater spaces? But that requires a lot of money.
You
and
can hire more
renovation.
Filipinos because we unconventional. I'm just kidding. You said Here Lies Love and I got all geeked. Sorry.
But I think Guys and Dolls on the West End, I think they did something similar as well. Like people were standing for 2 hours. I can't do that, but you know, I love the thought behind it of making it more immersive.
Yeah. I
Yeah, I
think
mean-
that's where theater's going, is it has to become more immersive because you're competing with things like medieval times and, you know, these light shows where you're walking through it, you know, there's different immersive experiences. And I think theater is going to become the more theater can be immersive, the more that experience can be. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out ways to make my comedy shows more immersive and more inclusive and more, you know, do even in just comedy and doing crowd work, because now, you know, I'm talking to the people in the crowd more than I'm talking about myself.
I was I was on the Red Line once, and this guy gets on at a stop, and he's looking at these note cards, and he just says out to no one. He says, "Hey everyone, I'm gonna practice some jokes if that's cool." And then he just practiced some jokes for 2 stops. No one really engaged with him, and then he got off.
Yeah.
And I think he
Nice.
does that regularly. And honestly, good for him.
Good for him, man.
Yes.
Good on him. I love that. I love that.
too.
That's
Yeah.
amazing practice.
Yeah.
That's wow. So I can't believe it, but we're like closing in on running out of time.
Oh.
So, right? Like this is how this works. It's crazy. You get smart people in a room and the time flies. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say some thank yous, but then I want to come back and get everybody to pitch your pitches and talk about your festivals and all your stuff that's coming up. And also, I think we mentioned this via email, but I didn't talk about it pre-show. A script, a book, something that you would recommend to viewers, watchers, listeners, all of that. Like, hey, go read this. Like, this one matters to me, that sort of thing. So I'm going to do some housekeeping with some thank yous real quick. That'll give you some time to think about that if you need it. So let's do that, just as I said. So some thank yous. We got 5 thank yous. Thank you number 1 is to officehours.global. Guy Cochran, Edwin Ruiz, who's been producing the show tonight. Monda Machine, and KBH Media for helping make the technical parts of this show possible. Thank you. Theater in a digital age. It's these guys. Thank you, number 2. The show is made possible by Straw Dog Theater Company and its ensemble members. Straw Dog is run on a free theater model, so all of our main stage productions are available to everyone free of charge. The only way we can make that happen is through donations, your generous donations from the community. You can find out more information about donating to Straw Dog or becoming a sustaining member at strawdog.org/donate. And there should be a link in the show notes when this is posted on YouTube. Speaking of Straw Dog ensemble members, thank you number 3 is to Kyle Hammond for creating and producing this show. He's a big fan of number 3. Thank you number 4 to our audience and community who watch every week, whether it's live or on archive or catching up. They chime in with participate. We appreciate it. Without you, without the community, this would be just 5 people talking to themselves, which, it works too, but we like knowing you're listening. So thank you for watching and thank you for listening. And thank you, number 5, the amazing panelists for being here this evening and sharing the fact that you're brilliant. And that you've got such wonderful, amazing thoughts about all of this. So it's been a pleasure talking with you. And now the last thing before we go, what do you recommend? And I'm going to start with Zach.
So I've been reading this this piece. It's very engaging. It's something that every line of it, I'm like, yes, this is perfect. And it's the annual donation request from Inclusive Playwrights Project. It's a theater collective that's been very active in Chicago, developing the work of disabled and non-disabled participants. I've been with them for almost a year now, and they haven't thrown me out. They do great work. And if you have the spare change, I believe you should donate to them. This letter compelled me so much that I needed to share it all with you. All you have to do is go to Shattered Globe's website because it's run through Shattered Globe Theater Company. Head to their website, go to their donate page, and just specify that it's for Inclusive Playwrights Project in your donation link. Hank, before the show, was so generous. He offered to donate $5 million. And Hank,
Yes,
oh my gosh, that is it is so kind of you.
I didn't know you were balling like that, Hank.
Hank is willing to match donations up to $5 million for the next 24 hours. So thank you, Hank. Couldn't have done this without you. We really appreciate your support.
Zach, it is the least I can do.
I know.
It's, I mean, like, why wouldn't I?
Why wouldn't you? Exactly.
Yeah.
It'd be rude not to.
It's not even about rude, right? Like, I'm up to 5 million. Yeah. Bring it on. There's no telling when my match may come in, but I'm game.
It's coming. It's coming.
The match.
All right. We will all head over to the Shattered Globe site. Zach, I know you just wrapped up Muted, but do you have anything coming up?
Yes, I do. We're currently taking auditions for a TYA show that I wrote called Knights of the Group Project. It's nice. A 50-minute show about this group of kids who was supposed to do a group project about Arthurian legends. They did not do a good job, and so they will be enlisting the help of students and children all across the Chicago area all summer long. It's going to be really fun, and that's through Improv Playhouse. So if you look at Improv Playhouse website or go to League of Chicago Theaters, you'll find the audition listing. Please audition. It'll be fun. You get to hang out with me. Maybe a joke or two will land. We'll see.
I know a guy on the red line. I'll pass it along. Jasmine, what about you?
I would recommend Wine in the Wilderness by Alice Childress, who is one of my favorite playwrights. But it's a conversation about arts with the intersection of race, gender, and class that I find very beautiful. Unfortunately, I have just closed the show, Dracula, a feminist revenge fantasy, really, by Kate Hamill. So I am moving towards a new project.
Well, come on back and tell us about it when you can announce it.
Great.
Awesome. Charlene.
Hi. Recommendations. There's a playwright in the city in New York called Randall David Cook, and he just had a play called Four Seasons that went up at Center Stage in Greenville, South Carolina. And it's a very theatrical show in that it takes Vivaldi's Four Seasons and he kind of that sits on top of this two-hander of these people who were knew each other years ago, and they meet in a theater and they sort of try to figure out if are they coming back together? Where is life for them now? What has evolved? And I love it. And I love that it's wrapped in this beautiful music, and there's a dance piece in it with professional dancers. So if you're interested in that, holler. I will get you our DC's contact. For me, I have a full-length play called 4 a.m. Friends. It's going up in Truro, Massachusetts at the Truro Playwright Collective, which is free, which I love. It's a look at 3 friends growing in 6 short connected pieces, which I'm really into now, is like, how do we explore long times? And it takes them from age 13 to age 63. And each of them is there's 3, so it's a 10-minute, a 20, a 10, a 20, a 10, a 20. So really kind of sectioned off that way. It is my tagline is, your 4 a.m. friends are the ones who will break your heart with the truth, who will break out the champagne for celebration, or who will break you out of jail. So yeah, it's going to be a fun night, and I'm looking forward to it. And
that's fantastic.
Yeah, great.
And you also still run 2 festivals, right? Or what?
I run one right now. So the
Okay.
Warner International Playwrights Festival, we're actually in submission period right now. It is a 1-act festival. Scripts 12 to 30 pages. We actually produce. When I started this festival with the Warner Theater, which is an old Warner Brothers theater in Torrington, Connecticut, which is my hometown. The mandates for me were I wanted 1-acts because I thought they kind of get lost between the full lengths and the 10s at the time, back then. I didn't care if they were new because we were looking for the best plays, and I didn't want that sort of premiere-itis where they had to be a premiere, and we had to produce, no readings. So the theater was of the same mind, and we came together, and I think, like I said, we've produced over 150 or 160 plays to date. So right now, submission period for that is on. It ends either when we meet our top end of the number of plays we can take, or April 1st, whichever comes first. And the selected plays get full production in a beautiful black box, but it's a beautiful black box. Yeah, sorry. But it's really cool. So that one is good. And Tennessee Williams Fest, I left there at the end of 21. It was a great time in my life. It gave me friends in Provincetown that I will have forever, and around the world. We brought in plays from, South Africa and Ghana, and toured the National Theater of Ghana through the United States, and Portugal and New Zealand and Russia, which was very interesting. I got a bottle of vodka from Russia and a letter from the Russian government saying, "Job well done." And now I'm not so sure I want to share that information. But my jam, I love what I'm doing right now. I love my writing. I love working with people I really have fun with, and I just adore the students that I have. So life is good.
Fantastic. Eric, you don't have anything going on though, do you?
No, not really.
You know what you should do? You should come to Chicago next weekend.
Yes, I'm coming to Chicago this next weekend. Chicago.
Wait, this weekend?
This week. Well, March 15th and 16th. March 15th and 16th, St. Patrick's Day weekend.
Woo-hoo.
The Canacuya is coming to paint it a different green. The river a different green. It's a different kind of green, guys. Coming from California, so we're coming. No, but I'm headlining. It's my first headliner weekend. Shout out to Mars Timms for giving me this opportunity to headline his club. It's a brand new club in Chicago, so it's in Oak Park technically, but Chicagoland, and it's on the west side, and it's a brand new comedy club in Chicago. It's owned by a Chicago comedian, a small business owner, and also, he he gives his friends and folks opportunity to headline, and this is my first opportunity to headline. So I'd really love for people to come out to the Comedy Plex. Wow, I feel like a real comedian. I'm pubbing dates.
You are.
March 15th and 16th at the Comedy Plex in Oak Park. Come Chicago, because you know, I love Straw Dog, and I know I hope to see some Straw Dog faces in the audience.
If this whole $5 million match doesn't drain me, I'll see what I can do.
Bro, I know you don't have $5 million, man. I know that. Just
Not
by
It's
just
the
your
haircut.
background.
It's the haircut, isn't it?
No, it's your
That's how you
background.
can tell.
If you had $5 million, you'd have a much fancier background than that. It's a nice green curtain, but I think
Oh,
you'd
I'm gonna Monty Hall this, and there's gonna be a prize behind it.
you see, well,
Yeah.
you might have to do that.
Ignore the door behind the curtain.
It's not gonna be a $5 million
He's
prize.
gonna open it up,
but
and there's gonna be like chandeliers and stuff, and
Yeah.
he's gonna be some rich dude.
yeah.
Or golden toilets like Donald Trump.
Oh, come on, man. You're not gonna make us end on that, are you?
No, I just had to say it. I peeled the curtain back, and then that's what I saw. I saw golden
Well,
toilets. 'cause
I'm
that's what's
sitting
on
on
the
a
brain.
golden toilet right now.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
As long as there's the bidet on it, then you're good.
There we go.
This has
Okay.
really gone somewhere.
Well, this is
Gone
dissolved.
somewhere.
This is
One
what we do
does
on
really
Take
hope
Five.
that we may edit all of
You
this
want to
out
become a
after those initial
senior
thank yous.
panelist? This is how you do
This
it.
is what happens.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been a joy as always. Thank you all for coming tonight and sharing your thoughts and your quick
Yeah.
wits.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having.
And I guess I got nothing else to say, but thank you.
Thank you.
you,
This
guys.
was
Thank
great.
you.
Great being here with
Bye.
all you guys.
See you next weekend,
fantastic.
Chicago.